Los Angeles, Skid Row, July 4th weekend. The heat rising off the asphalt was enough to warp the air. It smelled of urine, stale beer, and exhaust fumes. Skid Row wasn't just a place. It was a scar on the face of America. Tents lined the sidewalks like a refugee camp, filled with people the world had decided to forget. Art Vance sat on an overturned milk crate near the corner of 5th and San Pedro. To the casual observer, Art was just another piece of debris. His beard was a matted gray thicket, his skin was leathered by the sun, and he wore a heavy army surplus jacket despite the 90-degree heat. He pushed a shopping cart filled with aluminum cans and a dirty sleeping bag. But Art wasn't sleeping. Under the brim of his greasy baseball cap, his blue eyes were sharp, scanning the street. He wasn't looking for handouts. He was scanning sectors. Threat assessment. 2 males, 20s, arguing over a foil packet.
Non-combatants.
1 female, erratic movement, likely meth psychosis.
Safe.
Art reached into his pocket and touched the only thing of value he owned, a tarnished silver star medal wrapped in a dirty handkerchief.
He didn't wear it. He didn't talk about it.
He just held it when the flashbacks of Kandahar got too loud. The predator arrives. The rhythm of the street changed instantly. The ambient noise of the homeless encampment, the coughing, the murmuring, died down. A convoy of 3 matte black SUVs rolled slowly down the street, ignoring the traffic laws. Bass thumped from the windows, rattling the tents. They stopped in front of the Midnight Mission shelter. The doors opened, and out stepped Marcus, King Cobra, Thorne. Thorne was the new shot caller of the 18th Street Gang in this sector. He was young, flashy, and violent. He wore gold chains thick enough to tow a truck and designer sneakers that cost more than Art made in a year collecting cans. Flanking him were 4 soldiers. Heavy hitters. Strapped. Thorne wasn't here to help the homeless. He was here to tax the dealers who operated on the corner. As Thorne walked past the line of homeless people waiting for soup, he kicked a crutch out from under a one-legged veteran. The vet fell. Thorne laughed. His crew laughed. Art watched from his milk crate. His pulse didn't speed up. It slowed down. Target identified. High value. Hostile. Art looked at his hands. They were dirty, calloused, and shaking slightly from Parkinson's, or maybe just the rage he kept bottled up. He gripped the edge of the crate. Stand down, soldier, he told himself. Not your war. The incident. Thorne finished collecting his money from a terrified dealer. He felt like a god. On his way back to the SUV, his path was blocked. Art's shopping cart had rolled a few inches off the curb, blocking the door of the Escalade. Thorne stopped. He looked at the cart, then at Art. Move your trash, old man, Thorne sneered. Art stood up slowly. His knees popped. He grabbed the handle of the cart. My apologies, Art said. His voice was gravel, and used to speaking. Just getting by. Art started to pull the cart back, but one of the wheels was stuck in a pothole. He struggled with it. Thorne didn't have patience. He wanted to show his power to the watching street. I said move it. Thorne kicked the cart. Hard. The cart tipped over. Cans spilled everywhere. Art's dirty sleeping bag rolled into a puddle of gutter water. The silver star, wrapped in the handkerchief, fell out of the jacket pocket and landed on the asphalt. Art froze. He looked at the metal. Thorne saw it too. He stepped forward and crushed the handkerchief under his expensive sneaker. He ground it into the filth. Art looked up. For the first time, he made eye contact. Pick it up, Art whispered. Thorne laughed. What did you say, bum? I said, pick it up, please. Thorne smiled. A cruel, shark-like smile. He stepped closer to Art, invading his personal space. He inhaled deeply, gathering a mouthful of saliva. Tui. Thorne spat directly into Art's face. A glob of spit landed on Art's cheek and slid into his gray beard. You're nothing, Thorne hissed. You're dirt. If I see you on this corner again, I'll put you in the ground. Thorne turned his back. Let's go, boys. The SUVs drove away, leaving Art standing there with spit on his face and his most precious memory in the mud. The other homeless people looked away. They were used to humiliation. But they didn't see Art's hands. Art wasn't shaking anymore. His hands were steady, stone still. He wiped the spit from his face. He picked up the medal. He wasn't Art the bum anymore. Master Chief Arthur Vance, Navy SEAL, Team 4, had just been reactivated. The reconnaissance. Art didn't attack immediately. Rage is for amateurs. Retribution is a dish best served with intel. For the next 3 days, Art disappeared. He didn't leave Los Angeles.
He went underground.
He washed his clothes in a public fountain. He shaved his beard with a disposable razor in a gas station bathroom, revealing a jawline that looked like it was carved from granite. He stole a black hoodie and a pair of work gloves from a construction site. He began to track Thorne. He learned Thorne's schedule.
0900, breakfast ati casa mia.
1200, gym on 4th Street. 2200, nightclub The Vault on Sunset. Art watched from rooftops. He watched from alleyways. He mapped out Thorne's security detail. For men.
Formation, diamond. Lazy.
They relied on their reputation, not their situational awareness. They thought they were the hunters. They didn't know they were being stalked by a ghost. The first strike, the supply line. Art decided to dismantle Thorne piece by piece. First, take away his money. Thursday night. Thorne's crew was moving product, a shipment of fentanyl, behind a warehouse in the industrial district. 2 guards stood by the back door, smoking. Art moved through the shadows of the shipping containers. He moved silently, placing his feet with a rolling motion to avoid crunching gravel. He picked up a pebble and threw it against a dumpster.
Clink.
Check that out, one guard grunted. The guard walked into the darkness between the containers. He never walked out. Art dropped from the top of the container like a spider. He wrapped his legs around the guard's torso and applied a rear naked choke. The guard went limp in 6 seconds. Art lowered him gently.
No noise.
The second guard got suspicious. Yo, Mike? He turned around. Art was standing right there. Before the guard could raise his gun, Art stepped inside his guard. He utilized a palm strike to the chin, driving the head back, followed by a knee to the solar plexus. The guard folded. Art finished him with a precise chop to the carotid artery. Art opened the van. He saw the bricks of drugs. He didn't steal them. He wasn't a thief. He found a canister of gasoline in the warehouse. He poured it over the shipment. He lit a match. As the van engulfed in flames, Art walked away, the firelight casting a long, terrifying shadow. The message. The next morning, Thorne was furious. He had lost $500,000 in product. Who did this? He screamed at his lieutenants in the VIP room of his club. Was it the triads? The cartel? Nobody suspected the homeless man he had spat on. It wasn't even a possibility in their minds. Then, a package arrived at the club. A courier dropped it off. Thorne opened the box. Inside was a single, empty aluminum can.
Crushed.
And a note, written in neat, military block letters. Pick it up. Thorne went pale. He remembered. The bum, he whispered. The bum burned my truck? He started laughing. It was a nervous, angry laugh. Find him, Thorne roared. Turn Skid Row upside down. Bring me his head. The trap. Art knew they would come for him. He was counting on it. He returned to Skid Row. But he didn't go back to his crate. He went to an abandoned textile factory on the edge of the district. A crumbling brick building with rusted catwalks and dark basements. It was a kill box. He spent 6 hours preparing the battlefield. He broke fluorescent bulbs and scattered the glass near the entrances, an early warning system. He rigged heavy chains to pulleys. He created choke points using debris. He sat in the center of the factory floor, sitting on a chair, facing the main door. He placed the silver star on a table next to him. He waited. At midnight, the SUVs arrived. Thorne wasn't taking chances. He brought 12 men. They had bats, knives, and pistols. They kicked down the factory door. Come out, old man. Thorne shouted, his voice echoing in the vast, empty space. I know you're here. Art didn't move. He sat in the chair, hidden by the shadows, 50 yards away. I'm right here. Art's voice projected clearly. Thorne signaled his men. Get him. The 12 thugs moved forward, spreading out. They were loud. They were clumsy. Art closed his eyes for a second. He took a deep breath. He wasn't Art anymore. He was the Viper, the Ghost, the Reaper. He opened his eyes. Welcome to the jungle, boys. Art pulled a rope next to his chair. High above, a pallet of bricks, rigged to a rafter, swung down. It smashed into the first two attackers, taking them out instantly. Dust filled the air. Chaos erupted. Shoot him. Thorn screamed, diving behind a pillar. But Art was already moving. He vanished into the darkness of the factory. The hunt had begun. But Thorn didn't realize that he wasn't the hunter. He was the prey, the factory. 0:15 hours. Dust from the falling brick trap hung in the air like a thick, gray fog. Coughing, moaning, silence. 2 of Thorn's men were down under the rubble, unconscious or worse. That left 10.
Plus Thorn.
Get up! Get up! Thorn screamed, waving his gold-plated Desert Eagle pistol. Fan out. He's just one old man. Find him and bleed him. The gang members were shaken. They were street thugs, used to drive-by shootings and beating up shopkeepers. They weren't used to this. They clicked on the tactical lights mounted on their rifles and handguns. Beams of white light cut through the gloom, crisscrossing frantically. Over there. I saw movement, one shouted. 3 of them opened fire at a shadow near a rusted conveyor belt.
Bang! Bang! Bang!
Bullets sparked off the metal. Silence followed.
No scream.
No body. Just the echo of gunfire dying in the vast emptiness of the factory. The vertical flank. Art wasn't on the ground floor. He hadn't been there for 30 seconds. While they were shooting at shadows, Art had ascended a rusted service ladder to the catwalks, 30 feet above their heads. He lay flat on the metal grating, looking down through the mesh. He watched their formation break. They were clustering, backs to each other, looking outward. Target analysis. Panic setting in. Discipline is 0. They are blinding each other with their flashlights. Art reached into his bag. He pulled out a handful of heavy steel bolts he had scavenged. He threw one to the far left corner of the room. It hit a sheet of corrugated metal.
Clang.
There. On the left. Half the group turned and fired at the noise. Art threw another bolt to the far right.
Clang.
No, he's over there. Confusion. The group split. For men moved left. For moved right. Thorn stayed in the middle with his 2 bodyguards. Divide and conquer. The shadow in the hallway. The group on the left, 3 guys named Creeper, Jax, and Tiny, moved into a narrow corridor lined with old lockers. Come out, Grandpa. Jax yelled, his voice cracking. We got something for you. Art was waiting on top of the lockers. He breathed slowly. As Tiny, the last man in the stack, walked under him, Art dropped. He didn't make a sound. He landed behind Tiny. One hand clamped over Tiny's mouth. The other arm locked around his throat. Art dragged him backward into a dark alcove. Tiny kicked for 2 seconds. Then he went limp. Art laid him down and melted back into the shadows. Jax and Creeper turned around at the end of the hall. Yo, Tiny, watch the back. Jax started. He froze. The hallway was empty. Tiny. Jax shined his light down the corridor. Nothing but dust motes dancing in the beam. Where did he go? Creeper whispered, his gun shaking. He was just here. I'm here. A voice whispered from the darkness between them. Before they could turn, Art struck. He smashed their heads together. The sound was like 2 coconuts cracking. Both men dropped to their knees, dazed. Art delivered a double palm strike to their chests, knocking the wind out of them. As they gasped on the floor, Art stepped over them, collecting their weapons, a Glock 17 and a knife. He ejected the magazine from the gun, pocketed it, and tossed the empty gun away. He kept the knife. He didn't kill them. He wanted them to wake up later and tell the story. Fear is a better messenger than death. Thorn's panic. Back in the main room, Thorn heard the scuffle. Then silence. Jax?
Tiny?
Report. Thorn yelled into the dark. No answer. He's picking them off. Thorn muttered. Sweat stung his eyes. This ain't no bum. This is a pro. Thorn grabbed his bodyguard, a massive Samoan named Big T. Big T, take the stairs. Go up to the catwalks. Rain fire on anything that moves. On it, boss. Big T lumbered toward the metal stairs. The stairs groaned under his 300-pound weight. The high ground. Art heard the heavy footsteps on the metal stairs. He was still on the catwalks, but on the opposite side. He watched Big T reach the top level. The big man turned on a powerful flashlight, sweeping the beams across the rafters. Art had nowhere to hide up here. The beam was getting closer. Art didn't hide. He charged. He ran silently along the narrow railing. Big T heard the vibration and swung his light. I see you. Big T raised a shotgun. Art slid on his knees, passing under the shotgun blast. The buckshot hit a steam pipe behind him, releasing a jet of scalding white vapor. Art used the momentum to slide right into Big T's legs. He drove his shoulder into the big man's kneecap. Big T roared and buckled. They grappled on the narrow walkway, 30 feet above the concrete. Big T was strong. He grabbed Art by the throat and lifted him up, pinning him against the railing. The railing creaked dangerously. Gotcha, little man. Big T grinned. Art's vision blurred. The oxygen was cutting off. He couldn't overpower the giant. He had to outthink him. Art's hand dropped to his belt. He grabbed a flare he had stolen from the warehouse emergency kit. He popped the cap. HISSS pop. The red magnesium flare ignited inches from Big T's face. Blinded by the searing red light and heat, Big T screamed and let go, clawing at his eyes. Art didn't push him over the edge. He wasn't a murderer. He swept Big T's legs. The giant fell heavily onto the metal grating, knocked unconscious by the impact. The red flare lay burning on the catwalk, casting a demonic red glow over the entire factory. Below, Thorn looked up and saw the red light. He saw the silhouette of Art standing over his best enforcer. Art looked down at Thorn. The red light reflected in Art's eyes. He raised one finger and pointed at Thorn. You're next. The basement. Thorn broke. Screw this, he yelled. Let's go. Retreat to the cars. Thorn and his last 3 remaining men ran for the main exit. They slammed into the doors. Locked. Chains rattled on the outside. He locked us in. Thorn whispered. When? How? The basement exit, one thug yelled. There's a loading dock downstairs. They turned and ran toward the freight elevator shaft. The elevator was gone, but there was a service ladder leading down into the bowels of the factory. This was exactly where Art wanted them. The basement was a maze of old boilers, pipes, and water-filled tunnels. It was Art's home turf. Close quarters. Pitch black. Thorn and his men descended. Their feet splashed in ankle-deep water. Keep your eyes open, Thorn hissed. Splash. A sound behind them. They spun around. Nothing. Splash. A sound to the left. Show yourself. Thorn fired a shot into the dark. The muzzle flash illuminated the room for a split second. In that strobe light flash, they saw him. Art was standing right in the middle of them. He wasn't hiding. He was inside their formation. Darkness returned instantly. Then the screaming started. It was the sound of bones breaking, of air leaving lungs, of bodies hitting the water. Crack. Splash. Thud. Help me. My leg. He's got my gun. Thorn backed away, swinging his Desert Eagle wildly. Stay back. Stay back. He tripped over a pipe and fell into the dirty water. He scrambled backward, his back hitting a cold brick wall. He held his gun up, shaking. Silence returned. Guys, Thorn whispered. No answer. Just the drip, drip, drip of condensation. Thorn clicked his flashlight on. The beam cut through the dark. 3 of his men were lying in the water, groaning, holding broken arms and legs. Their weapons were gone. Thorn was alone. He swung the light to the left. Empty. He swung the light to the right. Empty. He aimed the light straight ahead. Art was sitting on top of an old boiler, 10 feet away. He was watching Thorn. He wasn't even breathing hard. He was cleaning his fingernails with the knife he took from Jack's. You have nowhere to run, son, Art said softly. Thorn raised his gun. I'll kill you. I'll put a bullet in your brain. He pulled the trigger.
Click.
Thorn blinked.
He pulled again. Click. Click.
Art held up his other hand. In his palm, he held the magazine from Thorn's Desert Eagle. You dropped this when you fell in the water, Art said. Tactical awareness. 0. Thorn looked at his useless gun. He looked at Art. He threw the gun at Art's head. Art dodged it easily. Thorn pulled a switchblade from his boot. I'm King Cobra. Thorn screamed, his ego refusing to let him surrender. I run these streets. I'm going to carve you up. Art hopped down from the boiler. He landed in the water with a soft splash. He stood up to his full height. He rolled his neck. Crack. He tossed the knife he was holding aside. He raised his bare fists. The knuckles were scarred and hard as rocks. You're not a king, Art said, stepping into the light. And you're not a cobra. You're just a bully who needs a lesson in respect. Art cracked his knuckles. Class is in session. The basement. 0:45 hours. The basement air was thick with the smell of stagnant water and fear. Thorn, soaking wet and stripped of his gun, lunged with a switchblade. He was fast, fueled by the desperation of a man who had never lost a fight in his life.
Die, old man.
Thorn screamed, slashing in a wide, vicious arc aimed at Art's throat. Art didn't step back. He stepped in. In close quarters battle, CQB, distance is safety, but proximity is control. Art caught Thorn's wrist in midair. His grip was like a hydraulic press. Crack. Art didn't just block. He drove his thumb into the soft nerve cluster on the inside of Thorn's forearm. Thorn gasped, his hand involuntarily springing open. The knife splashed into the dark water. Lesson 1, Art whispered, his face inches from Thorn's. Disarmament. Thorn tried to punch with his left hand. A haymaker aimed at Art's jaw. Art ducked under it, fluidity, defying his age. He pivoted behind Thorn, grabbing the gangster's gold chain. He used it as a leverage point, yanking Thorn backward off balance. Thorn splashed into the water on his back. He scrambled up, coughing, spitting dirty water. His expensive suit was ruined. His ego was shattered. You, who are you? Thorn shrieked. He backed away until he hit the cold brick wall. Art stood still, the ripples in the water settling around his boots. I'm the trash you kicked, Art said. I'm the nothing you spat on. Thorn looked around for a weapon. He grabbed a rusted pipe from the wall. He charged again. A feral animal backed into a corner. Art sighed. You don't listen. As Thorn swung the pipe, Art executed a seal takedown. He blocked the arm, stepped inside, and drove a palm strike into Thorn's chin, rattling his brain inside his skull. Before Thorn could fall, Art swept his legs. Thorn hit the water hard. Art placed a boot on Thorn's chest, pinning him down. The water rose to Thorn's ears. He sputtered, thrashing like a fish on a hook. Art leaned down. He didn't look angry. He looked disappointed. You think power is gold chains and guns, Art said softly. You think power is making people afraid. Art applied pressure. Thorn gasped for air. Power is control. Power is discipline. And you have neither. Art reached into his pocket. He pulled out the dirty handkerchief. He unfolded it, revealing the silver star. It caught the beam of the fallen flashlight. Read it, Art commanded. Thorn, eyes bulging, looked at the metal. Valor, Thorn choked out. Respect, Art corrected. Something you forgot. Art removed his foot. Get up. Thorn rolled over, vomiting water. He was broken. He had been dismantled physically and psychologically by a man twice his age. He looked up at Art. The arrogance was gone. In his eyes, there was only terror. Please. Thorn whimpered. Don't kill me. I have money. I don't want your money, Art said. I want you to leave my streets. If I see you on Skid Row again, if I see you hurt one more person. Art leaned in. The demon came out one last time. I won't be this gentle. The cavalry. Sirens wailed outside. Red and blue lights flashed through the high windows of the factory. The neighbors had called 911 when the shooting started. Police. Come out with your hands up. Thorne looked at the door. For the first time in his life, he was happy to see the cops. Jail was safer than being in this basement with the ghost. Thorne started to crawl toward the stairs. He's crazy. He's in here. Help. Thorne screamed. Art watched him crawl. He didn't run. He checked the room. He picked up the discarded weapons, the guns, the knives, and dropped them into a deep drainage sump in the corner.
No fingerprints.
No evidence. Then, Art walked to the darkest corner of the basement, where a storm drain led out to the river. He vanished into the shadows just as the SWAT team kicked down the basement door. The aftermath. Detective Miller stood in the center of the factory floor. He had seen gang wars, drive-bys, and riots. But he had never seen this. 12 members of the 18th Street Gang, the most violent crew in the city, were tied up with zip ties and electrical cord. They were piled like cordwood. Broken arms, broken legs, concussions. But no one was dead. It was surgical. In the basement, they found Marcus, King Cobra, Thorne. He was fetal, shivering, mumbling about a demon and a silver star. Who did this to you, Marcus? Miller asked, shining a light in his face. The bum. Thorne whispered. The old man, he's not human. Miller stood up and looked at his sergeant. One man did this, the sergeant asked, incredulous. Without firing a shot. Miller looked at the knots on the zip ties. Simple, efficient, military-grade knots. He looked at the pattern of the takedowns. Not just one man, Miller said, a look of recognition crossing his face. A professional. A Tier 1 operator. Miller walked over to the table where Art had sat earlier. In the dust, drawn with a finger, was a symbol. A trident. Miller, a former Marine himself, smiled. He rubbed the dust away with his boot. Forget it, Sergeant, Miller said. Gang violence. They turned on each other. That's the report. But sir, I said, that's the report. The ghost doesn't exist. Epilogue. The Watchman. Skid Row. 1 week later. The corner of 5th and San Pedro was quiet. The dealers were gone. The 18th Street Gang had pulled out of the sector completely. Thorne was in the prison infirmary, facing 20 years for the drugs found in the factory. Art sat on his milk crate. He had a new sleeping bag, donated by the Midnight Mission, and a fresh cup of coffee. He looked like just another homeless man. Invisible. Forgotten. A black sedan pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down. Detective Miller sat in the driver's seat. He didn't look at Art directly. He placed a brown paper bag on the curb. Lost and found, Miller said. Art didn't move until the car drove away. He opened the bag. Inside was a new pair of boots, a pack of warm socks, and a small lapel pin of the U.S. Navy flag. Art smiled. He put the pin in his pocket next to the silver star. He took a sip of coffee and scanned the street. Sector clear. All quiet. The ghost of Skid Row went back to his watch. The city didn't know his name, but the wolves knew his scent.
And that was enough.